This video is made possible by
So I am a big fan of women becoming entrepreneurs. I'm a big fan of anybody becoming an entrepreneur. And I do a lot of speaking to groups about entrepreneurship. Sometimes those groups are predominantly women. And I'm sometimes asked about, what are the lessons as a female entrepreneur and what should the goals be as a female entrepreneur? And I think the message that I would want to convey to a female entrepreneur, and again, any entrepreneur, is don't aim to be the best female entrepreneur. Don't think about it as being an entrepreneur in a female context. Aim to be the best entrepreneur. And certainly you'll have to kind of deal with certain things as a woman in this industry as you would in any industry, but aim to just be the best at what you are. And I have a funny story which sort of, displays how as a woman you do kind of confront certain circumstances which are both humbling, but they also kind of teach you things. And the lessons that I've taken away from those different experiences aren't about being a woman or a female entrepreneur, but they're about being an entrepreneur. And one example of that would be I was in a pretty aggressive negotiation at one point with a company we were doing business with, and we were having a meeting of our attorneys and their attorneys. And I had gotten to our attorney's office early, and I was in the conference room, and I was getting a cup of coffee, and I noticed that the creamers and the sugars and the stirrers were a little out of place, and because I'm anal and symmetrical, I decided to start sort of, putting things in place and kind of lining things up. And as I was doing that, one of the attorneys from the other side, who I had not met before, walked in. And he was getting his coffee, and he asked me if he could have a decaf instead. And I looked at him and I said, well, let me see what I can do. And so I left the room and I went and talked to somebody and saw if I could get him his decaf, and he wanted a special sugar or something like that. And came back to the room, and as the negotiation started and as people started to arrive and greeted me and greeted him, I could see his face sort of going through these different maturations of thoughtful or contemplative. What's going on here? And then when we sat down at the table and the discussions actually began and we passed out our business cards, he looked at my business card when it kind of came across the table, and he looked down and he looked up and he looked at his partner. He's like, with clear embarrassment. And what I took away from that was, again, just a good lesson for an entrepreneur, which is don't ever assume when you first walked in the room that you know who the person is that you're dealing with. Always take the time to learn about who you're talking to.
For more inspirational stories, check out pivotalplays.com.